Yes, that's right. We are live. Let's get in, as Ryan says. Yes, Ryan, you're quite right. About time to get started. Yes, welcome to this week's live Q&A on Joyrider TV, where I'm going to be answering all of the most challenging catamaran sailing questions out there. Oh, yes. So where do we begin? We'll start at the beginning. I've got a lot of preloaded questions today, so plenty to talk about. Quite a wide variety of different topics as well. So I'm just going to kick off with the first one, which is a fun, quick one, which is from F Cheater or FC Heater, perhaps, who said, can we look forward to seeing some foiling action on Joyrider TV in the future? Answer, yes. Hopefully it'll be pretty soon, actually, because in April, middle of April, I'm going to be coming to Holland to hang out with the guys at NACRA and basically putting the full range of NACRA catamarans through their paces and making like review videos and some tutorial videos as well while I'm in Holland. And of course, some of those boats are flying boats. So yes, I should be flying in Holland in April. So not too long to wait for that sort of action. Looking forward to that very much. Oh, yes. All right. I think I'm just going to check in with everybody who is checking in. And I'd like to a warm welcome to Bobby, who is a new Joyrider channel member, which everybody can become a channel member through YouTube. So if you want to support Joyrider TV without having to leave the YouTube platform, yes, you can do it. There's a button you can press somewhere. It says join, I think. And then great way of supporting the channel. All right. We've also, so thanks for that, Bobby. Thanks for getting on board. Scott is on board, dropping it in the slot in Oregon. Nice to have you with us, Scott. Tim is with us. I may not be able to stay the whole way. Okay, I will. Yeah, Tim has got one of the preloaded questions in today's Q&A. And I tell you what, let's steam into that one right now. Just because I think it's only fair to go through that while Tim is with us. So yeah, Tim sent me a an email basically going through a pretty harrowing experience. So starting off with some pretty juicy stuff here. Going out sailing with an inexperienced crew in gusty wind, Hobie 16. All right. Wind conditions, 12 gusting 25 knots, and setting off from like a dock. And while Tim was connecting or perhaps even attempting to connect the jib sheets, mainsail still down, the inexperienced crew let go of the dock line, and that meant that Tim was just left drifting downwind, and he did actually drift 400 meters downwind while he was still attaching the jib sheet. And then he tried to sail back upwind to the dock just on the jib, but couldn't make any headway against the wind. I'm just continuing with these points first. He says ultimately sailed across the lake about 2 kilometers to a beach because he couldn't get upwind just on the jib. So he landed on the beach, to hoist the mainsail. He tried hoisting the mainsail with the boat while he was out on the water, but it was proving to be too difficult and might have actually lost the mainsail completely. While he was sailing just on the jib, also the gusts were so much that there was a worry of the capsize. And with the mainsail just on the trampoline, if there had been a capsize, then there's a worry of losing the mainsail completely. Oh my word, this is quite a day out. Where are we next? Yeah, all right, so just under the jib. So my points are not in chronological order. He experienced significant lee helm, which made it very difficult to maneuver. So let's just finish these things. Concerned about capsizing the boat. Yes, talked about that. Achieved a personal speed record of 17.6 knots during the sail. Very good. Some positives there. Curious about the limitations of using just the jib for navigation back to the dock. Yeah, to be able to sail the boat just with the jib. I did do a video I think the year before last of just of sailing a Hobie 16 just with the jib, and it was pretty windy. I think it was probably getting on for 30 knots, but pretty steady. And I was quite surprised that yes, we could actually sail upwind just with the jib. But I would say in less wind, and yes, I'm going to put this on my program of videos to make. So in less wind, it is going to be difficult to get any headway upwind without the mainsail up. So Tim, it wasn't you. It was the situation. You know, on a Hobie 16, to sail upwind just with the jib, you really do need a big amount of wind. And so this sort of lee helm that you're experiencing just with the jib, lee helm, by the way, is when to keep your boat going in a straight line, you're having to push against the rudders. So effectively, you're pushing. So you're actually having to push the rudders this way because the boat is constantly trying to turn away from the wind. So you're having to push. And if your boat has got the classic fiberglass tiller extension, the tiller extension might actually bend rather than steer the boat. So it's a pretty nasty feeling, but it's because our general pivot point or center of lateral resistance on the boat is somewhere around here. Well, it would be on this side, which means any pressure forwards of this point is going to try to take the boat away from the wind. And that's also going to prevent you from being able to sail upwind if every time you try to get going, the boat just wants to bear away. So it's because all of the pressure is forward of the pivot point. What can we do to combat this? Well, first thing we can do if we are trying to sail just with the jib is we can get the jib traveler all the way to the outside and then possibly not sheet the jib in quite so hard, because if the jib is sheeted in really tight, this amount of pressure is going to be even more. But basically, what you experienced was not anything out of the ordinary in this sort of situation. So if that's any sort of comfort to you at this time. So yeah, that is about the size of it. So you do need a significant amount of wind to be able to sail upwind with the jib. Do check out the video on I think it's called something like can you sail a Hobie 16 just with the jib? Yeah, you should be able to find that reasonably easily on Joyrider TV or through one of the indexes that I have out there. All right, so Tim actually made a list of his findings from his experience. Number one, never let anybody hold a dock line. So if your boat is next to a dock or a pontoon or anything, don't have, if it's gusty wind, don't have them just holding the rope. Have the rope tied to something. That way you can be sure that your boat isn't going to go anywhere. Point number two, can't sail upwind with just a jib. Number three, make sure the main sheet is perfect. He was in a hurry at the beach and left a single twist in the main sheet, which meant that he couldn't sheet out fast enough once the mainsail was up and actually flip the boat because the main sheet wouldn't go out. Yeah, spend a bit of time getting your main sheet right. I think that's a very good point. Number four, this is a really good point as well. Make sure that the crew has more clothes on than the skipper, meaning make sure the crew is warmer than the helm. Tim says he had a 4mm full suit and the crew had a 3mm shorty and he was not happy. Yeah, these are some great points that everybody can learn from, I think. Number five, always make sure that the boat is perfectly pointed into the wind before hoisting the mainsail. Yeah, if your boat isn't pointing into the wind, even if it's not windy, it's just going to be so much harder to get your mainsail up. So yes, point the boat directly into the wind for hoisting the main. Incidentally, if you are hoisting the main while you're on the water, what's naturally going to happen is we're changing scale. What's naturally going to happen if you're trying to hoist the mainsail on the water is, yeah, you'll put your boat head to wind initially, and then because you're doing something else, your rudders are perhaps not supervised, and especially you should definitely have the jib up before you put the boat in the water. So the boat is going to just start to drift off like this and turn away from the wind. So what you have to do is, as fast as you can, get a bit of sail up, and then once you've got a bit of sail up, get the boat back into the wind, pull up the next bit, the boat's going to come down a little bit, and keep repeating this. Again, I'm going to be making a video on this exact topic once I'm back on the water. Not too long now. All right, what else have we got? Point number 6, sailing in big gusts requires maximum focus. Oh, yes, don't take your eye off the ball. Yeah, number 7, on crazy days, better to go out alone rather than with a completely inexperienced crew. Yes, I would say on something like a 16, this is possibly, it depends. Yeah, it depends on what sort of person they are. If the person you're taking out as crew has got some sort of experience in some other kind of, like, let's call it action sport, like if they're windsurfers, great, kite surfers, brilliant, because they're used to using a harness, then perhaps like other water users, perhaps like wakeboarders, water skiers, people who are used to getting water in the face, that sort of thing. But somebody who is really got limited experience on the water, yeah, then possibly you are better off on your own rather than having to worry about their well-being when they're getting freaked out maybe by getting splashed, and you're trying to focus on keeping the boat upright and sailing the thing. Yeah, sometimes it can be a much easier just to be on your own, perhaps leave the jib at home. Check out the video on sailing the 16 with just the mainsail. Yeah, I would agree. And my crew learned to never go sailing without a personal flotation device on. He hit the water, which was 8 degrees. Shorty wetsuit, definitely not enough. And he locked up. His words were, all right, this is serious. If I was not wearing a personal flotation device, I would have died. All right, so that is a lesson to everyone. Okay, so there we go, Tim. Thanks very much for sharing your story. And you know, when something pretty dicey like this happens, you know, we're lucky that most of the time, you know, really serious things are not happening, but we can all learn from these experiences, which is going to reduce the chance of really bad things happening, because it's like a near miss, or a yeah, let's call it a near miss, really wakes you up to kind of like how dangerous what we're doing can be. And it's the near misses that are basically like our reset, that we reset our focus and we think, right, yes, this is like, if nothing bad happened for a long time, or even no near misses for a long time, we might start getting complacent, taking our eye off the ball a little bit, not focusing, thinking, yeah, I don't need a buoyancy aid, it's fine. And then that's when really bad things could happen. So the occasional little thing like this can really be good for putting us back on track of really giving what we're doing the amount of respect that it needs so that it can be safe. Boom. Thanks very much, Tim, for sharing your experience. All right, I'm going to jump back in for the into the live chat for a bit of light relief. All right, so we got Mark and Janet in Ohio, always there on the podium positions, on the start line of the live chat. Thanks for tuning in. All right, Scott says, I heard that you would be in San Francisco area in June. Oregon is just next door. What is your travel itinerary? Yeah, at the moment, unfortunately, yeah, just to backpedal, my intention this year is to be hitting the States in June. And then I'm definitely 100% confirmed that I'm going to be hitting the States late October for the event in Hilton Head, and then on to Corpus Christi for the Alta Cup in the Hobie Wave. Incidentally, I'll be with the Hobie 16 in Hilton Head. Very nice. Looking forward to that. But my program is intended to be that I am also going to be in the States mid-June. But at the moment, that trip is still not completely confirmed. If I am coming to the US of A at that time. Yes, I am going to be for a period on the West Coast. But again, yet to confirm. Incidentally, the rest of my itinerary is the only other trip I've got planned, already talked about Holland, is in middle of July. I'll be going to the other side of Greece for the Tornado World Championships. But as it stands, the rest of the time I am due to be here. But yes, if anybody makes me an offer, then be warned, I might accept. There we go. All right, we got Ryan on board in Maui. Crack of dawn there, Maui, Ryan tending to the bees, I would think. All right, Scott says, I'll be in Boston early April. Is anybody out sailing that time of year? Scott would love to get on board if anybody is going sailing. April, Boston. There we go. We've got Jens on board in Germany, channel member Jens. Great to have you with us, Jens. Ben XM is on board as well. All right, Bobby says, now most of the ice has melted. I'm going to try to sail my Mystère 4.3. It might be a show us your cat boat. Yes, yeah, definitely get in there for some show us your cat. In fact, if you saw the presentations that I put out last week on all of the different classes of cat, you will have noticed that the Mystère was missing, and there were other types of catamaran which were missing as well. But if you felt that your type of boat was missing from the presentation, I'm going to be putting together a supplemental edition, same format, just so we really are filling in all the blanks. So with your Mystère 4.3, send me a picture or two, and if I may, I'll use that for the next presentation. Very nice. All right, Hanny's on board in Holland. Great to have you with us, Hanny, as always. Fawn G is here. Nice special effects in the unboxing video. Yeah, and I have been using my next tool, Vanguard, this week. This is really good. I do like this very much so. It's got a lovely action. Good weight. That's how you know the quality. Yeah, and a relaxing pouch. All right. All right. Yeah, Tim is in Budapest, by the way, who we were just talking about his experience. Fawn G asks, will the shoes be delivered to me by helicopter as well? You never know. Depends where you are and what the method of delivery is in that region. All right, Robbie from Ocean Springs, Mississippi is on board. Nice to have you on board, Robbie. And yeah, Robbie is probably the latest entry onto the speed stick. So yes, get on the speed stick if you're going sailing, definitely. And in fact, massive news just in, speed stick related news. But the Water Speed app, which I was very much enthusiastic about last year, is now available for Android. So I'm very keen to use the Water Speed app as the official speed app for the speed stick. So if you are going to be getting on the speed stick, if you're looking to put a speed in or go out sailing and see how fast you're going, if you are gonna record, not doing so well with talking, am I? If you are going out using your phone to record your speed, then do download the Water Speed app, use that one for the speed stick. And that just means that we're getting a bit more of a consistency in our recording devices. You can still use whatever you like, but if in doubt, if you don't know what to use the water speed app, because that means that we're getting a bit more consistent in what we're using. There we go. You can use incidentally, if you have got an Apple Watch, you can definitely use the water speed app on your Apple Watch without having to take your phone with you on the boat. And I'm pretty sure that would be the same case for any type of smartwatch. There we go. All right. So Ryan says, what happened to the YouTube reaction emojis? I don't see them anymore. I was not aware that there's been anything that has gone on with that, Ryan, but I will look into it after I've finished this broadcast. Thanks for letting me know. All right, Cucks Ollie is on board. Hey ho, hello to everybody. All right, Bone Crusher is with us. Hilton Head, South Carolina says hello. All right, I think our paths will actually cross when I hit Hilton Head late October. Looking forward to that. All right, Miguel is with us. Hello again. Great stuff. Cuxolly says, never underestimate the risks. Thanks for highlighting this. Yeah, thanks, Ollie. Thanks, Tim, for bringing this story to our attention. All right. Hung Like Tic Tacs is with us. Nice to have you with us again. He's got a Minicat Guppy. All right, yes. And Hung Like Tic Tacs is also in the preloaded department. All right. So I tell you what, if that's all right, I'm going to come on to your preloaded question shortly, not immediately. I'm just going to finish off with the live chat just to start with. Sergio in California is on board. Nice to have you with us. Hung Like Tic Tac says favorite forums for sailing. Now I don't actually use any. I occasionally go onto the old Hobie Cat forums if I'm looking for something specific and I can't find anything. But generally, I'm not really looking at any of the sailing forums. I would certainly visit websites to get information, whereas forums, I think a lot of the time you're getting opinions rather than actual facts. Maybe not to say that these forums aren't worthwhile, but I think the best ones these days are on Facebook, all of the different groups, because everybody who is with these groups on Facebook are so keen to help people. So it's kind of like the Hobie Cat Sailboats Facebook group. You put your question in, and a couple of hours later, it's likely that 30 people will have replied. It's amazing the amount of support that these catamaran sailing groups are giving each other on Facebook specifically. So that is what I would say is leading the way for me these days. All right, Dan is on board in Oahu in the Hawaiian Islands. Oh, yes, we are representing today. Nice to have you with us. All right, Dave 108 says, what event is it in Hilton Head? It's called the Test and Tune. It's the 50th anniversary, and it is basically an all classes of catamaran open meeting. So it's a 3-day event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. For those who are less experienced at racing, I'm actually going to be holding a 2-day race clinic before the event as well. So that would be starting on the Wednesday. And there's going to be racing, course racing, plus I think there's going to be some long distance racing as well. But we're expecting, well, we're not expecting, but I am going to really try to get over 100 boats to get to that event and make it as special as it can possibly be. All right. So Sergio says I've got a Hobie 14, which he's restoring to sail in Mexico. New rigging on it, no jib. Do I need to add the dolphin striker? It doesn't have it. Right. So, yeah, Hobie 14, does it need a dolphin striker? I would say if you're going to be using the Hobie 14 with the trapeze, yes, it needs a dolphin striker. If you're not going to use the trapeze, then the way the boat was originally designed was no trapeze, no jib, just the mainsail and no dolphin striker. So if that's how the boat was originally designed, you would think that the front beam has got enough structural integrity. But I would say if you've got the opportunity to add a dolphin striker, it is always going to help. So if you've got the opportunity, then yes, add a dolphin striker, because even if you're not trapezing right now, there is a chance you will be trapezing at some point in the future. There we go. All right. So where are we? All right. Jens says, very excited what you will find in the Netherlands with the Nacra guys. Yes, definitely. Is there a spot to test the boat and rent it? I don't even know at this time, but that is one of the things that I'm going to be finding out when I am there. All right. Ollie says you could use the Total Joyrider Discord server for questions too. I think, yeah. So there is a Total Joyrider Discord server, which, you know, I really should be promoting, but at the moment, I would say for the best kind of like responses, for the most responses, the Facebook groups are definitely winning at the moment. Yeah, there we go. Ryan agrees. I think you need to add the dolphin striker if you trapeze and run a jib. There we go. Lot to get through today in today's Q&A, but thanks to everybody for being here. Thank you for being here. It's great that you're here. Without you being here, I would just be talking to myself. All right, so because Hung Like Tic Tacs is with us in the live chat, just going to go through his preloaded question. So he's sailing. I'm saying he. Hung Like Tic Tacs is sailing a an old version of the Minicat Guppy. All right, so here's our aerial view of the boat. Probably it doesn't really look like this, but it's just for scale. And actually, can I use that? Yes. And on the old version of the Minicat Guppy, what it's got is a short bowsprit, probably shorter than that, like that, to scale. And if we have our sort of side view, there's the mast. The forestay attaches, because it's by the way, the Minicat Guppy is the smallest of the inflatable catamarans. Just fits into one bag, weighs less than 30 kilos. Definitely the most portable boat that there is out there. But with the old version, the forestay attached to this short bowsprit. And the question is, I'm thinking of attaching a snark dinghy mast to the front to make basically an extended bowsprit. So this would be like if I maybe more of an extension than that, maybe something like that, which you could fly a bigger jib or some sort of spinnaker from. I can certainly see where you're coming from with this as an idea. And would I say that structurally, the boat can handle the extra load? This is going to be the decision that we need to make, because I think to a degree, yes, because this short bowsprit is taking the load of the rig, then, and like when you sheet the mainsail in, that's pulling down there, which is pulling up here against the bowsprit, which means there's got to be a decent amount of strength in there. And so as long as you don't go too much with the length of your extension, I would say you would probably be all right. I'm not going to say definitely yes, because what I don't want you to do is put your extension bowsprit piece on, put like something like this, put an enormous spinnaker on there, take it out in a force 5, and the piece that the bowsprit goes into breaks off. Don't want that to happen. But don't put something on there too big. And when you're giving it its first sea trials, do it in really light winds. See how that works. But yeah, and like with any modifications like this, always give it a try with really light wind first. And if there's any other ways that you can support things, that's going to help as well. The other problem that we're going to encounter here is, if this is now the original bowsprit, this is the extension like that, is you can't, like on a conventional catamaran, you can anchor the bowsprit to the bows of the boat to stop it going upwards. But on an inflatable, we can't do that because the hulls are not designed to take that sort of load, apart from on the Happy Cat, in fact, because that's got a different frame to it. But yeah, so what we're going to experience if we put too much load into this extension bowsprit, it's going to bend upwards a lot with no support, which if we put too much load in it means it is just going to snap and it's going to break. There'll be a tremendous mess. So keep the load really down. I think that is the end result of that one. But thanks for the question. I look forward to hearing how that went. But yeah, keep the load down, definitely. All right. Where are we? Jack is on board. Good ways to make subwater parts of hulls stickier for capsize writing. Yeah, now the thing is, I know what you're saying. So what Jack is saying is, when the boat's capsized, the bottom of the hull is like an ice rink. You can't stand on it. It's very slippery. The only thing I can recommend is always wear shoes of some description, because the bottom of the boat, it's been in the water, so that the water on the hull is going to make it even more slippery. And if it's windy enough to capsize the boat, you definitely need some traction, which means wearing some sort of shoes. Yes. I use the Zero Shoes Aqua X Pro, Aqua X Sport, I think they're called. Yes, which offer good grip to the upturned hull, or some traditional neoprene sailing shoes of some description. But to actually add any grip to the bottom of the hull, that is going to cause you resistance when you're sailing. So that isn't the kind of approach that we're going to take there. There we go. All right. So Jack says wanting a Shadow X, but it looks perilous. Yes. Learned that from the FX1s at Vasiliki. Yeah, it's not that bad. The Shadow is a great boat. Yeah, a lot lighter than the FX1, but for single-handed sailing, a boat like that, which is designed daggerboards, mainsail, spinnaker, trapeze, that is some really great sailing there, rather than single-handing a boat which is kind of designed for sailing with two people. Of course, the exception to that is the Hobie 16 or the Dart 18. But if you want to have a boat with a spinnaker for single-handed, yes, the Shadow is a great choice. The Inter 17, the FX1, or if your budget can stretch to it, a modern Formula 16 would really cook the goose there. All right. Sergio says, all right, should I add Sergio with the Hobie 14? Should I add a jib, I think you mean, or use it simple? I'll save trapezing to a Hobie 16 I'm getting next. Yeah, I would. I think it's always nice to sail the boat in its purest form, kind of like as it's been designed or what the racing rules allow. And with the Hobie 14, yes, you're going to go faster with a jib, but it takes more technique tacking the boat without a jib, which is going to make you a better catamaran sailor. And it is the purer form of the Hobie 14 is to be sailing without the jib. But adding the jib is going to make the boat easier to sail and faster. So it's kind of like, if you want it to tick as many boxes as possible, add the jib. But if you want it in its purest form and the form that is going to make you a better catamaran sailor, leave the jib at home. There we go. All right, Dave 108 says, I built a 3-meter cat with styro, I think that'd be like the foam, windsurfer construction, windsurf rig, £100, and it came out years before the inflatable ones came out. Nice, very lightweight, I can imagine. All right, Robbie says the good old F16, so the Viper would be the best solo cat. Yeah, bit of expensive, but worth it. Oh, right, I see. Jack says it's the slippery, shiny, wet hulls that look perilous. I'm not scared of the boat yet anyway. Yeah, so yeah, shoes, definitely shoes. And to be honest, the neoprene sailing shoes offer the best grip with that soft compound rubber soles, whether it's on the trapeze or on an upturned hull. All right. So I think at this stage in the game, I need I need some help from the live chat department, and I think Jack, because you are you had the last question, what I'd like if you could, Jack, could you please choose a number between 1 and 48? Just put it in the live chat. A number between 1 and 48. Incidentally, this is for the Total Joyrider TV t-shirt giveaway challenge. So the number that Jack gives us in the live chat between 1 and 48 is going to relate to a name that I have on a list, and whoever that is going to be receiving a Joyrider t-shirt. Oh, 34. There we go. Thank you, Jack. All right. This is interactive. All right. You're not going to believe it, but 34 is Fred. And Fred has actually said that if he wins the t-shirt, because he's already bought some t-shirts from totaljoyrider.com, he'd like it to be redrawn. And I'm going to go with D Nixter, who's already jumped in. He's already jumped in with 22. So I'm going to go with D Nixter because I think this is totally fair. Fair way of drawing it out of the hat. And number 22, you're not going to believe it. He's in the live chat. It's Robbie. Robbie, you are the winner of a Cat Sailor League t-shirt. Yes. So Robbie not only is the latest entry on the speed stick, but also the winner of the t-shirt giveaway competition. Can I do this without it taking too long? Maybe I can't. All right. I'll come back to that. Don't want to be wasting time. But yes, congratulations to Robbie, who is the winner. So Robbie, if you can send me an email with exactly what size you want, all that sort of thing, and your postal address, I'll get one of those bad boys in the post to you. Congratulations and well done. And thanks to everybody for getting involved. What this actually was a very sneaky bit of market research with a prize. So thanks for getting involved. Robbie says, let's go. So stoked. Thanks, D Nixter. All right. There we go. Okay. So back into the preloaded questions after that little flurry of excitement. And the next one, we're going to go into our our sort of headline topic 48 minutes later. And this is from VHES5, who says, what do you do if your crew falls off the boat while you're flying the spinnaker? All right. Yeah, this is a tough one, actually. What do you do? Yeah. So first thing is, depends a bit on the wind strength and on your ability to a certain degree. You know, as you'll know by if you've been watching the videos, on boats like the FX1 or the Shadow, single-handed boats with a spinnaker, it's quite common to be able to drop the spinnaker single-handed. But on boats which are double-handed boats, like say it's an F18 and F18 with a deck sweeper mainsail, which makes it that little bit more tricky to get the spinnaker down. What do you do if your crew fell off? You would need, if the wind was light enough and you could respond quickly enough, then to turn the boat immediately, head to wind. Yes, not very nice for the spinnaker to have it flapping kind of into the mast a bit. But if the crew can get attached somehow, can grab hold of something, or if you can grab hold of them, get them back on the boat immediately. But that is only going to work in pretty light winds, and if you're able to respond quickly enough to the fact that they've fallen in. Otherwise, you are going to have to get the kite down. So what we want to do, all right, let's we're going to draw a picture, or actually we're going to use small magnetic catamaran. So we're sailing downwind, and this is our crew falling in. Let's put it over here. Actually, crew falls in at this point. Okay, crew falls in. We need to get the spinnaker down. So this is, of course, assuming that the crew falling in doesn't cause you to capsize. That brings about a whole different scenario. But crew falls in. So immediately we want to take the boat dead downwind and get the spinnaker down. So I'm not going to go through the process of dropping the spinnaker. We've been through that before, but get the spinnaker down. But while you're doing it, let's say there's some small waves, maybe even medium to large size waves. So while we're doing it, we want to be regularly, repeatedly looking at the crew and making sure we've got a good visual sighting of the crew while we're doing whatever it is that we're doing. So keep looking back at the crew in the water, because otherwise you're going to end up a good distance away from them and you could lose sight of them pretty easily. So get the kite down, or just get it so it's into the chute. That's enough. Once it's started going into the chute, and that's the point when it's not possible then for the spinnaker to go into the water, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So spinnaker's gone into the chute. We've got it down. So then we need to take the boat back upwind. Again, keeping an eye on your man overboard in the water. And then coming up, not tacking too soon. And in this situation, I would say going for the tack is the right thing to do, because if it was a normal man overboard, like if we were sailing upwind, then the general procedure is to turn onto a reaching course, sail far enough away so that you've got a bit of space, but so that you've still got really good sight of them. And then we're going to come downwind and jibe so that we can approach on a close reach. Now, the reason that we jibe is because if we want to tack, we have to sail so much further to be able to approach on a close reach. So, yeah, in this situation, because we're having to sail upwind, it makes sense. We're not going to be sailing less distance by jibing. We're actually going to sail more. So we keep approaching until we've gone past, like if it was a buoy, for example, and this was our ley line, we're going to sail past there so that we've got a bit more room to maneuver and approach on a close reach. All right, I just saw that I think that's Kuba and Anya say they have a video of taking the crew from the water with the spinnaker up. Great stuff. Yeah, I tell you what, if you send me the link of that video in the comments, I will share it so that others can see it if you're happy for that to get shared around. All right, Dan says, can confirm, except skipper falls in, crew let the sheet and the halyard go. I had main sheet wrapped around leg dragging me. Crikey, that is not a fun time. Yeah. So yeah, we do ideally need to get the spinnaker down. So that is what we're looking at. If it's windy, gosh, yeah, it's when you're in the situation, you just need to know what to do without having to think about it. And I think 9 times out of 10, if you can't stop close enough to the man overboard in time, you're going to need to get the spinnaker down, because you're not going to be able to get back to the man overboard with the spinnaker still up. So I'm sticking with this as the standard procedure. Dead downwind, kite down as quickly as you can, then head up, tack, and then approach. There we go. That's what we're going for. Thanks very much. All right, so continuing. Hope everybody is having a good time with the live Q&A. If you are watching live or watching later, please feel free to take your spare finger and hit the like button. That just means that more people will have this information presented to them by YouTube in the coming days. All right, so we now have an announcement of an event that you should go to if you're in Florida, April the 26th and the 27th. Martin has informed me of this. It is called the Miami Key Largo Regatta. Have you ever done that one, Robbie, or anybody in Florida? Let us know. It's a long distance race from Miami to Key Largo, as the title would suggest. It's about 40 nautical miles in a straight line. And it's going to be the 70th edition this year. Very popular with catamarans, both foiling and non-foiling. Lots of different classes. Martin says last year we had 8 NACRA 15 the foiling versions, and they were foiling for 40 miles non-stop. All right, very nice. So Florida, late April, the Miami to Key Largo Regatta. I would definitely do this if I was in town. So yeah, Robbie says he hasn't done it, but when his dad retires, Robbie can convince him to do it on the Inter 20. Heard a lot of great things about that race. Yeah, so there we go. All right, so next preloaded question. This is from Joe, who's actually the organizer of the Hilton Head event in October. All right, and he says, you walk to the beach let's just go with by yourself, and there are 2 fully rigged boats ready to go on the beach. There's a Hobie 16 and there's a Hobie FX1. Question is, he's asking, which one do you go for? If you're in the live chat, put which one you'd go for single-handed. Would you, let's say, champagne sailing conditions, which are 14 to 16 knots of wind and flat water, would you go Hobie 16 or Hobie FX1? All right, have I got any others in? All right, I'm going to leave that with everybody in the live chat to say, yeah, just put in the live chat either Hobie 16 or Hobie FX1. Put it in the comments as well, what you would go for. And I'm just going to come on to the next preloaded question whilst you're mulling that one over. So this one's from Will. Will's got a Maelstrom A class, and the A class is, if you're not familiar, is a very lightweight performance single-hander with dagger boards. The modern A class boats have got either curved dagger boards, or I think they're called, is it Z foils? So it's a foiling boat. And unfortunately, Will, with his A class, he has hit a rock with the dagger board. And what would you check? What is the what are we putting at risk if we hit something with our dagger boards? This would be on any type of boat which has dagger boards. And you know, the obvious thing that you'd think if you hit something with the dagger board is it's actually going to be the dagger board that gets damaged. But here we are. Here's our hull. And here's our dagger board case. And yes, of course, we do need to check the dagger board. Like a really, I think possibly the worst situation for the dagger board itself would be if you were fully powered up, maybe even flying the hull a little bit. And let's see if we can. So here's the boat, hull, dagger board, rock. And it goes into a rock because it's under load and the load is pushing it that way, that if we hit a rock when we're flying a hull like that, it's very likely going to, if this is the board, it's going to crack the side of it. And even if the dagger board doesn't snap immediately, it's likely it's going to snap in the near future. And two places it might snap, but the most likely is right there, because the bit of dagger board that's inside the hull is supported. This is the bit that's not supported, which means when it takes a blow from the side like that, that is the bit that that's the bit that's really going to take the load and the bit that's most likely to snap. And then what becomes an issue later on is you're not able to take the dagger board up, because where it's snapped here, you can't actually lift it. Problems. All right. And I'm not even presenting any solutions to those problems. The solution to that problem is you have to get in the water, snap the dagger board the rest of the way completely, so then you can actually lift it up. Otherwise, when you get back to the beach and the water starts getting shallower, then you're risking damaging other parts of the boat with this dagger board flapping around under the boat. Yeah, so yeah, bottom line is pay attention to the depth of the water. But I know, especially if you happen to be sailing in the Swedish archipelago, there are as many rocks under the water as there are that you can see in the form of islands. So the next thing that could be damaged after a dagger board strike, let's call it, is the trailing edge of the case. Let's just make sure. Yeah, so if dagger board hits there, pushes backwards, trailing edge of the case is going to take the impact, and is quite likely that you're going to get cracking, and that cracking might extend a bit down the hull. So if you're in a competitive situation, I know what it's like. If you're racing, you hit the bottom, nothing immediately seems to be broken. What do? You carry on. That's just what happens. You're not going to stop racing to check things if you've just hit the bottom a bit and nothing appears to be broken. But you will find if there's some serious damage, you'll know about it pretty soon because that hull's going to start going down. But it shouldn't, with a modern catamaran, mean that your boat is going to sink, even if there's a hole in the hull, because most hulls of most catamarans have inside them foam buoyancy, which is designed to keep the boat afloat, even if there's a lot of water inside. Yeah, but basically what you need to do is when you get back to the beach, drain the boat. Well, you'll quickly find out how much water is in the boat. If the boat is dry, then you can feel a little bit more confident that serious damage hasn't occurred to the hull. If the hull is wet, then yeah, it could be pretty bad. But as soon as the boat gets to the beach, de-rig the boat, drain the boat of any water, and then get the boat on its side with the one that hit the bottom, that the hull that struck on the ground, so that you can really have a very good look at it. Now, with most catamarans, where they're constructed, front beam, and let's have another hole. There would be an access hatch somewhere in the vicinity of the front beam, which is used for assembling the boat. So take the hatches off as well and actually have a look in there. Just have a look, get a torch in there and see what you can see. What I've started doing quite a lot, if I need to have a look somewhere where I can't see, actually put a GoPro on a stick, send there with a torch, so that I can have a look around with that as well. That's really helpful. Yeah. So there we go. That is what I would look at if I hit the bottom with the dagger boards down. But when I was sailing in the archipelago raid with Declan last year, Declan was absolutely like the sonar on the boat saying, we're not going there. We're not going there. We've got to go there because anywhere else we're going to hit the bottom, with the charts on his tablet, which he was wearing, so that at all times we had an idea of where the rocks were. I know, not always possible. Okay, so Bobby says, this is in response to Joe's question, what would you go for, the FX1 or the Hobie 16? Bobby would like to try the FX1. Robbie, competition winner, says, as a Hobie 16 guy, if I could go FX main jib and shoot, I'd have to go that way. D Nixter says FX1. Sunset Wingman, hello. Great to have you on board. I have too much dignity. I have too much dignity to sail a boat without dagger boards. Ouch. All right. Okay. So, yeah, that's the votes from the live chat just in. So for me, what would I choose, a 16 or an FX1? 15 knots, flat water. I think I'd go FX1 as well. Solo. It's sort of, yeah, it would depend a little bit on what I wanted to achieve. But sailing single-handed, mainsail, spinnaker up on the trapeze, sending it. If it was windier, like 20 knots of wind, then the 16 would take over. But 15 knots or lower, the FX1 would be more fun. But would it? Because 10 knots of wind, Hobie 16 single-handed, you can fly the hull forever, and it's much easier than the FX1. So it really is a difficult question. It would also depend on which boat has got rudders which are better set up as well. Yeah, so Kuba and Anya will try the FX1. Good choice. Yes. Oh, and Bobby says, very important for those of you who don't understand the English dialect, but what I'm calling a torch is also known as a flashlight. Thank you very much for clarifying that. All right. So have I got anything else? All right, I've got one more preloaded question. And this one comes from Samuel, who is sailing a trimaran. All right. Okay, and Samuel says, is there a smart way to complete the tack even when your jib is not yet backed? On my trimaran, I run into this problem when the winds are in excess of 15 knots and there is a steep chop, like small waves. Holding the boat out to try to force it through the wind, or maybe to get it going backwards while steering accordingly. Yeah, I would say on any type of boat, you should be able to get it using the mainsail, any sea state, any type of boat, you should be able to get it to go head to wind by using the mainsail. But I would, if anybody sails a boat that I can come and try that you really can't get it to go head to wind, then I would love to experience it so that then we can look at coming up with a solution. But by really cranking the mainsail in, that will always get the boat to go head to wind. Crank it in really hard. You don't have to be going fast. All you need is to absolutely crank in the main sheet, crank the mainsail all the way in, and that should turn the boat head to wind. When you get head to wind, that will be the point when the jib backs and it pulls you through the wind. Now, if you let's say you can't get the boat head to wind for some reason, what could you do? Yeah, let's change the scale. If you can't get the boat head to wind, what can you do to get it to go? Yeah, you just really need to get, yeah, it's a tricky one. You just need to get the jib to do this, which will involve going really far forwards, which maybe on the trimaran, you've got a bit more space, go really far forwards, hold the jib out. And then, like you say, that's going to start to get you to go backwards so you can steer it round. But my only advice on this is, or question is, are you cranking the main sheet in as hard as you can? If you're not cranking the main sheet in as hard as you can, then that is the issue. Crank it in as hard as you can. It will pull you into the wind. Then as soon as the boat is pointing directly into the wind, release the main sheet. The jib should take over and pull you off onto the new side. There we go. All right. So I think we're almost there. We've been going for quite some time today. So I would like to say thank you to everybody who's tuned in live. Bone Crusher says, at the Hilton Head 50th anniversary regatta, we will have the Joyrider TV custom edition, brand new Hobie 16 for Joe to sail and then sell after the regatta. Oh yes, great stuff. Yeah, wow, that is nice. I'm touched deep inside. Bone Crusher says, why Hobie 16 in heavy wind? Because you can send it harder on the Hobie 16. Yes, the FX1 will still be really fun in heavy wind, but because of the commitment that it takes putting the spinnaker up when it's windy single-handed, it's like if you're going to put the spinnaker up single-handed when it's windy, it really is ultimate commitment, because it is much easier to pull it up than it is to put it down. And if you put the kite up and you very quickly decide that this was not the course of action that should have been taken, then it's a bit more of an effort and a mission to get the spinnaker back down. Whereas on the Hobie 16, single-handed or with the crew, there really, in my opinion, isn't anything that is as much pure fun to sail. That's what I think. Yeah. And that's what I'm going to be doing at Hilton Head on a brand new custom edition Hobie 16. I hope that it's going to be yellow. That's all I can say. Okay, so thanks very much for tuning in. Please do hit the like button before you leave. And I will be seeing you soon with some more on Joyrider TV. Congratulations again to Robbie. And yeah, thanks very much.